for me, it's always been, you wear white on Pentecost. Pentecost is usually the day where people are fervently seeking the Holy Spirit. But what I'm going to really talk about during this series is like Pentecost is more than just a day. It's really an experience. It's a moment. It's something that we now have access to. And this is just the day that we remember and celebrate and honor that. So, welcome to Stories of a Christian Girl. Stories of a Christian Girl. Welcome to Stories of a Christian Girl, and my name is Lynette. And if you are new to my channel, it's been a minute. I am simply here to do with, I believe, Revelation 12:1. I should know this off the top of my head. When it says we overcome them by the blood of the Lamb and the words of their testimony. So here to create a space where we can share as Christians. And today we're going to be talking about Pentecost. And so I am going to break this down into a 3-part series, and I'm looking at my notes here, because I really want people to have an understanding about what is Pentecost. What does this truly mean? Like, why are we celebrating? Like, this is not just a Sunday to wear your good white or your red and fall out. Okay. And I believe when we understand the historical and the cultural context, right, background information, I feel like we understand the true meaning and purpose behind something. So that's kind of why I'm here. And so this first part is going to be breaking down like historically and culturally, right? Because all of this stuff happened in the like Middle Eastern countries. I should probably pull up a map or something. In Jerusalem. And so that's kind of the culture that we're referencing when we say cultural context. And historical context is the time period when the Bible was written, when the things in the Bible was taking place, I should say. So first, the Jewish roots of Pentecost. This is actually Pentecost is a Greek word, and the Greek word means 50th. So this is like the 50 days after Passover. Okay, so that's kind of like the term. And so in Exodus 23, they Moses gives the Jewish people, right, the Israelites, he gives them the commands, and with the 10 Commandments, he also tells them that there are 3 main feasts and festivals that they must celebrate annually, and it is mandated that the men travel to the appointed place, which was at that time Jerusalem, to celebrate. Okay, and so in Deuteronomy 16:16 it says, 3 times a year all your males shall appear before the Lord your God in the place which he chooses, at the feast of unleavened bread, that's when Passover takes place, at the Feast of Weeks, that's Pentecost, and at the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay, this happens like in the fall time. And they shall not appear before the Lord empty handed. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord your God, which he has given you. So you can think about this kind of like how I think we call them CME Christians, right? When they come to church for Christmas, Mother's Day, and Easter. Yeah, you can think of it like that. Except like this was really mandated for men, Jewish men, and women were able to come as well. But it was mandated for the men. So just a little background information about like, the Jewish holiday, and kind of that gives you an idea of why everybody was gathering in Acts 2 and 4, which we will get at in another part of the series. So to talk a little bit more about this, right? This was 7 weeks after the feast of, they also call it the feast of first fruits, that Passover. Okay, and so this was a festival where you are pretty much celebrating like the seeds that you planted previously. You're celebrating like this harvest time, and you're giving thanks to God for giving you this harvest. That's really all it is. And even when you in Deuteronomy, when they were reviewing this command to go to temples, the three festivals, all of these festivals were really opportunities that were stamped where we give to God. We don't come empty handed. We're giving thanks. We're giving our first fruits, right? And I know a lot of times people in general are wondering why, oh, the church always want you to give your money and different things like that. However, when you think about what it really means, when you're coming together in these appointed places at these appointed times, you're really coming together to thank God, and you're giving back the first of your increase to God, because it all belongs to him anyways, right? And we're thanking him. We're coming to him with a grateful heart. Um, and they also kind of connected this to the fact that when all of these laws were originally given in Exodus, it was 50 days after their exodus from Egypt when the law, or the Torah, right, at Mount Sinai was given. So that gave another intention behind it. Because remember, uh, Pentecost is 50 days after Passover, right? After the Feast of First Fruits, okay? And, or Feast of Unleavened Bread. I think they call it different things. I hope I'm saying them correctly. I did my research, okay? so, so remember, and Passover celebrates um, when they were in Egypt, and one of the last plagues that was sent out against the Egyptian people was the death angel, and they were instructed to kill a lamb and use the blood, right, over your lamp, over your post, your doorpost, and the death angel would pass over them. And so they're celebrating how the death angel passed over them and spared them. Okay, that is what that Passover is. And then 50 days from there is when they get the law. That is when the Jewish church is pretty much created for them. And so it's so amazing that on the same day, on the same festival, Jesus is so intentional when he tells the disciples to wait, and that he's going to send a comforter. And he knew, right? Everything that the Lord does is so intentional. He knew that people would be gathered from all over to come to Jerusalem, right? For this Pentecost celebration, okay? And so, how intentional is God on the same holiday that pretty much represents the foundation of the Jewish church or the Jewish religion is now for Christians being transformed as the day that we celebrate the birth of the church. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about that at the next in the next series. I was very intentional about not making these videos long because I just really wanted to teach. I wanted people to know, like, what is this day that we're celebrating and why are we celebrating it? The last thing that I wanted to point out, and this puzzled me myself because, I'm thinking about the historical context of the day, and when we're celebrating it. And I'm also wondering, like, well, why do people wear white? I just never understood that. And so, doing my research and asking someone if they wore white. Um, and they also considered modesty and respect. Like for each holiday, it was like white clothing, symbolizing new beginnings, symbolizing purity, symbolizing a fresh start. Um, Even when I did Passover, I celebrated the Passover meal, and I was watching this video, and it was a Jewish man doing Passover, and he said usually the priests wear white. And so I even looked it up. The Museum of the Bible, they talk about this as well. In Britain and Ireland, Pentecost is known as White Sunday or Whit Sunday in reference to the white vestments worn by the clergy. The white is symbolic of the dove of the Holy Spirit, which appeared at the baptism of Jesus, and which is the color most catechumens wear on the day of their own baptism. So it's really like connecting to that symbolism of people wearing white when they have that water baptism, and now it's like we've been baptized with the Holy Spirit. Like I said, most from what Google told me, Traditionally, I believe it's like the priests, they're wearing white during these Jewish holidays. Feel free to let me know if you are of the Jewish faith, or you know people of the Jewish faith and you have other information about Pentecost. I would love for you to share in the comments. I would love to hear, what do you know about Pentecost? What are your Pentecost traditions? Like I said, for me, it's always been, you wear white on Pentecost. Pentecost is usually the day where people are fervently seeking the Holy Spirit. But what I'm going to really talk about during this series is like, Pentecost is more than just a day. It's really an experience. It's a moment. It's something that we now have access to. And this is just a day that we remember and celebrate and honor that. So I hope that this video was helpful and informative. And I pray that everyone has an amazing Pentecost Sunday. Okay, bye. Tune in to our next video, which will be talking about Pentecost and the importance, what it means for the Christian church. Okay. All right. Bye.